I understand the rationale behind it. Like,
Sure.
you're a millionaire. But babies...
It always comes back to, but babies.
But babies. But babies.
Welcome to Dying on a Hill.
Hi.
The podcast about marketing and business initiatives that someone should have stopped way before they got started. This is part 2 of Nestle, the baby killer. Specifically, milk nurses and shenanigans is like my little sub name for it.
Oh, okay. It's got a colon followed by more title.
Right.
Right.
It's a sequel.
I like that.
Because people don't know what something is if it's just simply 2.
That's true. Well, I some people did, like Back to the Future Part 2 didn't have a colon.
What would be your colon for Back to the Future Part 2?
To the future.
Too future, too furious. Well, in the previous episode, we talked a lot about Nestle, sort of a quick brief thing about their baby formula, where it came from, how they were sort of using it back in the 1970s. So now let's just jump right into, 1980s.
Yeah.
See where we go
Yeah,
from
we're
there.
moving up in the timeline.
In the previous episode, we cited a study in Chile via Mike Mueller from the War on Want pamphlet. You remember that one we talked about with the baby that's like President Baby?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do remember President Baby.
So in that same study...
He's got my vote.
Yeah, God, I wish I could vote for a baby.
I would, in a heartbeat.
Is there any way that we can get someone to stay a baby until they're 36 and then we can vote them as the American president?
Benjamin Button.
But by the time he's a baby, he's going to be old and senile.
But he's a baby.
It's true. He's going to be adorable.
Beggars can't be choosers. If you want a baby president, that's the way it's done.
You'll still end up with an old white man as your president.
But it'll be a baby. I mean, we
baby.
do kind of have a baby president right now.
Oh, sure.
Just not cute or fun.
No. Anyways, dead babies.
Let's bring it up from where we were just in the darkness about our president. Let's go talking about dead babies.
So in that study, it said 66% of households in the country of Chile did not have clean access to water or washing facilities. In a lot of those communities, bottle feeding has been on the rise despite the conditions just not improving. When we talk about marketing, I guess, and having examples for this stuff, I don't really have a lot, but I do have a jingle.
A jingle.
And this is going to be...
From Nestle?
This is jingle from Klim Milk in the Belgian Congo. So you know it's going to be very tasteful.
It's going to be real tasteful. Let's jingle all the way. Let's hear it.
All right. The child is going to die because the mother's
Hold
breast...
on. You don't have the jingle, you just have the lyrics?
Yeah.
I got to hear the tunes. I want to know if it's a catchy jingle.
I don't think...
Otherwise, it's just spoken word poetry.
Well, I mean, it kind of is because it's translated. I guess it must have been in French.
Oh, man, I'm
or
disappointed.
Congolese
I want to
French.
hear the actual thing.
Nah. The lyrics go, the child is going to die because the mother's breasts have given out. Mama, oh mama, the child cries. If you want your child to get well, give it Klim milk.
Klim. Not an appetizing name.
Nah.
Not an appetizing name. But yeah, that's your whole campaign is if you buy our product, your baby lives. If you don't, it will die.
Yeah.
So best of luck to you, idiot.
So there's not a lot of nuance there, right? There's not a lot of education.
That is a subtle way of putting it.
So that's just one of the many things that, milk companies were up to that eventually made it so that there had to be regulation of some kind on the industry. And what they came up with was the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutions and Regulations.
Hold on, the code, it's like a larger code and it fits within that, or is there's a code specific with that humongous title that's just about breast milk and the like?
That is correct.
That is very specific.
Yeah. Well, the World Health Organization came up with it. They just saw that there was just, I guess, a need for it. But here's the thing. It's non-binding. So it's more or less just a suggestion. And I don't think any of the companies actually followed through on it.
So It's an ineffectual. It's not anything.
Right.
So why does it matter at all that it existed?
I think it matters that it exists because it needed to exist. Like, the fact that it exists means that it needed to exist, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is effective for why it exists.
Well, that's certainly true.
Yeah, that's like most advertising regulation in a nutshell.
It makes me think of the comics code.
Right.
That Marvel and DC adhered to.
Oh, yeah.
Where they wouldn't show a handful of specific things.
Mm-hmm.
And all that does is make it so that other companies who are willing to show those things produce them.
Right.
But when you already basically have what's a binopoly, monopoly times two, where it's two companies, biopoly.
Yeah.
Where that's a duopoly. It's probably it. Then that's all you. Then that's all that gets produced.
Yeah.
So presumably there aren't that many companies making formula or,
Well, I mean, just in this episode, we've talked about 3.
That's not a ton.
So Nestle, Klim just now, Dumex.
First of all, we need to talk about the names of these companies. Klim and Dumex.
Yeah.
If I'm feeding my baby, I don't want these hyper clinical, like, it sounds like I'm putting motor oil in my baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting motor oil in my baby.
No. Dumex sounds like something that helps with, constipation.
It's a lubricant of some sort. It's not food for a baby. Dumex.
Well, some would say that Dumex isn't either. Enter milk nurses. So when I say milk nurse, what do you think
I
that
immediately think of that scene in Mad Max where it's a bunch of ladies who are all basically pumping in order to provide milk to the king guy. So I'm positive that I'm right, or at least pretty close to what the reality is. But I do picture it as basically like exactly that scene where they show all the women pumping milk. Like it's gotta be in a cave, like a cave lair, like that man lives in. And there's also probably like a blood boy thing that they have going on.
There may be a blood boy.
It's probably a blood boy.
There's probably a blood boy. Every blood bank has a boy. And that's the blood boy.
That's the blood boy.
Well, to further explain what that is, let me read a nice little excerpt from the New Internationalist I tried to do some research on this dude, Edward Bayer. All I could find that he was a self-described activist.
Can you do it in jingle form, please?
It's a long one. I can't. It's not. And also doesn't. I mean, not that the other one rhymed, but this one definitely doesn't rhyme.
I mean, I'll listen, but I can't promise how closely.
All right. I'll do it with a nice
for all
rhythmic
of my information.
snap.
All right. I'll take a snap.
Okay. Sample used to be delivered to new mothers by milk nurses.
I'd like everyone listening to know that Charlie snapped a single time and then just continued to read.
I can only do 1.5 things. Samples used to be delivered to new mothers by milk nurses, women hired by milk companies and dressed in semi-official uniforms to promote artificial feeding to mothers and health professionals. Banned from entering maternity wards directly in Singapore, for example. So again, they had to be banned.
All right, go on. I will withhold my thoughts until I've heard all of the facts.
Dumex milk nurses would wait just outside the hospital gates to catch new mothers with free samples on their way home. In Jamaica, Bristol-Myers milk nurses evaded government bans to enter public maternity hospitals and copy down names and addresses of new mothers to visit them at home and give them free samples on their doorsteps.
Oh, boy.
In the
Philippines,
Philippines,
is predatory.
Yeah. In the Philippines, milk nurses worked on the public housing projects of the poor and then calling at dwellings where diapers were hanging on clotheslines, signaling that there was a newborn there.
Okay. Okay.
So milk nurses.
They're hunting.
Right.
It is not what I pictured with Mad Max.
It's a little worse.
It is. Oh, it's significantly worse. But in a way that I did not anticipate. That name doesn't imply what it is that they do.
They are milk saleswomen.
Yeah. Milk stalkers, more like a salesperson, at least, like, might have good intentions. This is a person who is hunting you to, like, that they will go to your home and inspect the exterior to see if you might have the thing that might need the thing they're selling. That's intense. What salesperson, like, scours your backyard before deciding to try to sell to you?
I mean, they'll look at your LinkedIn, maybe.
Nobody looks at LinkedIn. Who looks at LinkedIn? When's the last time you've updated a LinkedIn?
I mean, I've been unemployed, though, sure.
Yeah, that's the only time you do. Nobody looks at LinkedIn unless they don't currently have a job.
Yeah,
or they hate their current one.
It's marketing. The churn out is a year, so everyone in marketing is constantly updating their LinkedIn.
Okay, all right, I take it back. I've never seen the point of LinkedIn, but I know that people get, like, straight up offers, like they get recruited from it. So that's a thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just doing it wrong.
Yeah, but if you want to work on your LinkedIn after this?
Sure.
All right. From the Business Insider, Jill Krasny quotes a mother recounting a nurse's pitch to the foundation, The War on Want. And again, that's that nonprofit in Britain that's just literally wants to feed people. That's all.
Right.
That quaint nonprofit.
Right.
Everyone else is trying to go for some very specific thing. They're like, what if we just fed everyone?
Yeah, what if there was food in bodies? What a thought.
The nurse began by saying breastfeeding was best. Then she went on great detail of all the supplemental foods that the breastfed baby would need. The nurse was implying that it was possible to start with a proprietary baby milk from birth, which would avoid these unnecessary problems that come up from breastfeeding.
What problems? You just said it was best. You just said it was best.
Right.
What problems are coming up from the best thing? If there are problems that come up from it that your product solves, your product must be the best thing.
I don't think they're legally allowed to say that it's better.
But they are saying that.
Right.
That's exactly what. All right. So you got this one option. You got this option here. You got option A. We'll call it apples. Apples are the best thing you can eat. There's nothing better in the world for you to consume than apples. But there's a lot of ways that apples fall short. So bananas are they'll fill in all those gaps and do even more great stuff that apples don't do for you.
Really?
So buy our bananas.
I thought apples did pretty much everything.
They do. Apples are absolutely the best. There's nothing better than them.
Right.
But for all the times that apples fall short, I have a product that does so much more and does it better than apples do.
So it is better than apples.
Not at all. Apples are the most important thing you can possibly give to your body. They're very nutritious, delicious, unbeatable. Can't be beat. We've beaten it, though, with bananas.
Yeah. And so you can see how they were no longer able to advertise, specifically in hospitals. So they found a way around it by hiring a sales force, more or less, to go and hand out free samples. More free samples than anyone has any business owning a lot of times. Because when you use something for so long with a baby, that baby's very used to it by the time you run out of those samples.
That is true. So here's my... I am worried about asking this question, but
Sure.
Did it work?
No. Well, yes, kind of. The milk company started another thing. They started sponsoring hospitals.
Sponsoring hospitals. You can't advertise within the hospital, but you can basically own a portion of it.
Right. So from the same Internationalist article, the layout of these centers, whether by accident or design, make breastfeeding difficult. Mothers are physically separated from their newborns, and then the nurses can swiftly and conveniently administer donated formula in ready mixed bottles.
Oh, that is underhanded.
But
if you own the hospital, you can force feed the babies whatever you want to feed them. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. That is the definition of problematic.
But establishing breastfeeding is more troublesome because instead of rooming in mothers and babies together, babies must be carried long distances to their mothers for feeding because they're not kept in the same room.
Oh, boy.
Right. So rather than the baby just being like, I'm hungry, and then just doing the thing babies do and just looking for a nip, they have to be bottle fed, or there has to be
boy.
great, effort taken to have the baby joined again with the mother.
That is rough. That is rough.
A task, by the way, bringing the child to the mother, a task that the article says nurses resent.
Come again?
Oh, yeah.
It's called nurses resent?
No, they resent the fact
they-
that they have to bring babies to their mothers.
I thought you meant that the task of bringing the baby to the mother was actually called as like a procedural name. The nurses resent.
No,
like, you're on resent duty.
Oh, you got resent today?
Oh man, sucks for you. I worked a double on resent yesterday.
God damn, how your arms feeling?
They're very, very weak. A lot of resenting going on here.
And the investment in these hospitals also goes into the architecture. So it yields dividends in the form of new bottle feeding customers for the lifespan of the building. Mm-hmm. So they'll build the buildings, donate it to the hospital then, but they'll design it in such a way that it makes breastfeeding harder.
I can't even think of something that compares to that. That's nuts.
Right?
I want to say it was in like 30 Rock or something where there was a joke about like you have the chips that cause diarrhea, and then the same company could make the anti-diarrhea medicine, and that's how you get vertical integration is you force diarrhea upon people and have the solution to it. That's what they've done here.
Yeah. People have done that before. They've bought in loads and loads of what they thought was like the cure for like an old-timey illness, just waiting for that illness to have a big spike. Sometimes, you break the bank on it. Sometimes that case of rickets doesn't come along.
But a baby is not an illness. I sort of understand like investing. I don't support investing in pharmaceuticals because they tend to be villains across the board. But I understand the rationale behind it. Like,
sure.
If there is a boom in a specific disease and you've got the keys to the castle, you're a millionaire. But babies...
it always comes back to, but babies.
But babies. But babies.
All right,
babies.
Here's a small clip from the International Baby Food Action Network. Again, this thing apparently is such a big deal that it has all of these organizations and big names.
IBFAN.
The IBFAN. We talked about
that's
it.
Right. That's right. That sounded familiar, and I now know why. Be a fan.
It was founded in 1979 to help educate new mothers on breastfeeding. And while the position may be biased towards breastfeeding, I think they make a lot of valid points. So let's just watch this quick little video.
I'm very excited.
I do like that guy's suit.
I was going to say the exact same thing. He is a well-dressed man.
So well-dressed. I don't know, what his day job is.
But his night job is all right.
It's a whole party.
Oh, boy.
No, his day job is to try and get babies to not die.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
That was a lot rougher than I remember. I wrote the script like
there's a
3 weeks
video
ago.
of a dying baby in that.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And then the river that they're drinking from.
Big old poo river.
But like, you can see the sincerity of these people when they're like, yeah, they're being told it's the best. It's the safest.
Yeah. And, oh boy. I mean, that benefit of the doubt could be true in theory.
Right.
Assuming a fully Western modern culture.
Right.
But only in that scenario. And maybe not even in that scenario, because I don't know what's in this formula, so I can't say if it's better or not. But that's irrelevant when you force the consumer to add their own water to it, and you can't control for the conditions of that water.
Right.
Bonkers.
I think even in America, there's problems with that because we don't have a lot of clean water in a lot of places.
That's true.
But again, like if someone Like, what the fuck are the people in Flint, Michigan doing?
Oh, fair point. Oh boy. There's got to be people using formula there, right? There are people using it everywhere.
Right? It's wherever you use water, there's people using formula.
They do have now where it's already liquid, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, but that's for the busy mother on the go.
Sure.
I mean,
the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
We're not talking about dead babies anymore.
And I'd love to say that this whole thing has like a happy ending. Unfortunately,
I can't
no.
imagine it does.
This is one of those episodes where unfortunately it's just going to get worse and worse. So like we said, back in 1981, the World Health Organization voted on that ridiculously long named advertising policy that no one really has to follow. But they still voted on it, and it overwhelmingly passed the non-binding International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes.
Too long.
Overwhelmingly passed 118 to 1.
Shocking that it passed, given the name. Like, it's not a sexy enough title. People are good. Like, you got to punch it up.
Right.
If we're going to talk marketing, you got to market that name.
Lord of the Rings. Great name.
Yeah. Not a one-to-one comparison, but yes, that is a name that has some punch to it.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
That's
great name.
Honestly, that's a little long of a title, if I'm being honest about it. But still punchier than this atrocity of a name. Amazing that it passed with flying colors. They really needed to shorten it up. Like, look, you've got Obamacare. That's a punchy name.
Sure.
Compared to, I can't even tell you what the official name of it is. The health, whatever the hell, I can't think of the name of it.
I forgot what that is.
But that's the point.
Right.
That's the point.
The point is relabeling and reframing.
Yeah,
so that
brand
you can
it better.
Take advantage of it and lie to people.
It shouldn't have passed, if I'm going to be honest. They should have voted it down until they thought of a better name.
Well, one vote did vote no.
Yeah, who dissented on
we'll
this
get to that
stupid
later.
idiot thing to dissent on?
We'll get to that later.
Oh, it was America.
So one of the sections was 4.3, and that stipulates that samples and supplies should only be given at the request of the party receiving it. So that's 1981. Everything that I've just told you about what these milk nurses do, they're not following that.
Obviously.
So even by the standards of what they should be doing as far as just like how they should be giving the milk out, they're not following that either.
Of course not.
And oh god, here's another just awful. A lot of this is just me reading awful things I read.
Yeah, I mean that's where we are right now. That's the tone.
So, a 2018 investigation by the Guardian and the Save the Children Foundation found that
2018. Okay, so we're really modern now.
Still going. In some of the most deprived areas of the Philippines, found that Nestle and 3 other companies were offering doctors, midwives, and local health workers free trips to lavish conferences, meals, and tickets to shows and cinema, and even gambling chips to earn their loyalty.
What?
They were taking doctors out to lunches and on vacations and ski trips. There's
Oh, I misunderstood. They're taking doctors out.
Yes.
That's nothing new. Every pharmaceutical company does that across the board.
Sure. Midwives and local health workers too.
At first, I thought you meant they were taking mothers out.
You know, for how much money they spend, they could.
Yeah, like, hey, you're a new mom. You deserve a break. Go play some craps. There you go.
Just
leave
remember,
your baby at home.
It's real smoky in those Filipino casinos.
Breathe that heavy smoke in, then go breastfeed. No, don't breastfeed your kid because your milk will be all smoky. So use our formula instead.
That's what they should do. They should separate the mothers from the babies and then just smoke around the mothers and have the mothers drink. So it's just not responsible
why not
for them
go whole hog with it at this point?
Like we were talking about, before this podcast started, we started talking about all the ways that Los Angeles could be crippled by a simple infrastructure failure.
Yes.
This, I think, is one of those.
Yes.
Where it's like all you need to do, the simplest thing you need to do,
poison everyone. Nothing to it.
And so in 2018, and this is I like to because I'm sourcing so much stuff. I'm gonna have to just like say people's names. I'm sorry. I hate having to give them proper credit for their hard work.
I don't see why you should apologize for that. That seems like a rational thing to do.
I know, it just doesn't go with the flow.
We've been talking dead babies for the last 45 minutes. I don't think there's any flow to worry about.
Nope, that's true. Especially because they're babies. They haven't hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So in 2018, Olga Kazan reported for The Atlantic that President Trump's U.S. official pitched the World Health Assembly to ask that they remove the language in that little useless thing that no one follows that encourages the protect, promote, and support breastfeeding. So they said, hey, you know how this whole thing is supposed to be encouraging breastfeeding? What if it wasn't?
To what end? Why?
I don't know.
Who told him to do this?
I don't think anyone told him to. I think the dirty secret about Trump is that like anyone who wants to like book a fucking block in his hotel is able to influence these minor policy changes internationally and domestically. One of which is telling the World Health Assembly that no, we shouldn't be promoting breastfeeding. And it's like, I don't, and like we said in the first episode, I don't give a fuck what you ladies do with your babies.
Do anything you want to do with your baby. That's your choice. But on what planet would you say that we shouldn't promote breastfeeding? The thing that's kept babies living for the entirety of human existence.
What gets me is that it's by removing the protect, promote, and support, it's implicitly promoting bottle feeding.
Right.
There's
because you can't
no
sell
one without the
mother's
other.
milk.
Yeah.
It comes for free. You can't put a barcode on that and scan it at the Vons or the Johns or the Ralphs.
Now, to be fair, a representative from the Health and Human Services, Caitlin Oakley, came out and said, look, recent reporting attempts to portray the U.S. position at the recent World Health Assembly as anti-breastfeeding are patently false. She went on to say the United States was fighting to protect women's ability to make the best choice for the nutrition of their babies.
And if that choice happens to be our wonderful products, so be it.
I don't have a lot of faith in the current administration picking up the fight to help promote healthy rearing. Of course, a representative from Nestle was at the meeting. Because why wouldn't a representative Nestle be at a World Health Assembly?
The biggest crime in all of this is that I love chocolate chips, and now I feel bad buying them. Because what's better than just buying a bag of chocolate chips and just eating the hell out of that bag? Tell me one thing that's better than that.
One thing
better. A baby living through the night. That's what. That's the one thing that's better. So now I can't eat chocolate chips anymore.
Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry I ruined chocolate chips.
That is the firstest world problem that's ever come up.
You can buy Godiva.
Are they safe to eat? I don't know what
I think Godiva only does chocolate.
How do I know that they're not part of the clan?
They're European?
That doesn't help.
So the Nestle representative says, we believe that to significantly increase breastfeeding rates and promote healthy diets, the guidance when implemented by member states should consider other important measures other than simply recommending additional restrictions on the promotion of commercial baby food.
Such as?
She didn't mention any. She says, hey, if you want my company to promote, if you want my company to promote breastfeeding, you should stop promoting breastfeeding. It's one of those things that makes sense in terms of a law, but it doesn't make any fucking sense when you consider what the actual intent is.
That's the same thing as schools have to stop teaching about the Big Bang unless they also teach intelligent design.
Right.
It's the same idea. Like you
yeah, the false equivalency.
It's exactly. Yeah, you can't promote this clearly good thing unless you also promote an alternative thing that maybe is or isn't as good or as accurate or whatever, but you have to You have to embrace everything, or else you're the problem because you're rejecting a potentially right approach to something.
Right, because we don't know yet. Yeah, we know. There's lots of dead babies to prove that.
So many.
That promoting bottle feeding in a developing country is problematic.
Blee.
And, so what if the doctors and the midwives of their local hospitals are being treated to lovely steak dinners at 5-star restaurants? And that's the reason why they're so hip to recommend it. It's really because, they're considering the health of the child.
Even though the same thing that Pfizer does for boners. It's the same thing. Okay, I'll stop.
And you were right. America was the lone dissenting voice in that WH.
Nailed it. How did I know? How did I know?
Yeah, you knew.
We're the dumbest.
We're the dumbest. We hide it behind free market, which it's not free market when the market dictates that it can just spend as much money as it wants until no one's there's no big breastfeeding company.
Of course not, because you can't. It's not something you can have as a company. That's not. There's no possible way you could market it.
What about
what I was about to say was that right after I said we're the dumbest, what I then thought was, no, we're not. In this scenario, we are the smartest, which also makes us the most evil.
Yes.
We aren't the dumbest. We've outsmarted ourselves so much that we can make tons of money off of the scummiest things.
Yeah.
America is a brilliant nation of horrible, horrible scumbags.
Right. But, to be fair, I wanted to include this just for the sake of fairness. When Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, he did ban all gift bags from maternity wards.
Well, problem solved.
In 2006. Yeah, I mean, so at least there's some decency. But that's in America. It doesn't do anything for at least one politician at one point said, "Hey, at least get the fuck out of American hospitals." But that goes to show you, if it's good enough for an American hospital, why isn't it good enough for any of these facilities around the world? And I don't know what honestly, I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, a boycott of Nestle is not going to work because they've been boycotted since 1978.
Still now they are?
Yeah, still now they're technically. I mean, people are boycotting them. They have not.
You never
stopped.
hear about that.
Yeah, right. Because why? Because like I said, it's something that doesn't affect us, and also, it's one of those problems that it's just ongoing. It's an ongoing problem that I think everyone's really numb to it. I think it's almost like you grow up knowing that people are starving, and you grow up seeing images of children basically being skin and bones and with distended stomachs, saying that they need your 25 cents a day or whatever. What they actually need is for basically Nestle and Dumex and the company that makes Pedialyte. They're one of them too. Which makes me go oh god damn it, that's my hangover cure. I gotta find a new hangover cure.
Well, you're not a baby.
Yeah, obviously boycotting them isn't gonna do a fucking thing. So I'm not really sure. They're international companies, so it's not like there's anything that an American government can do. Or like you saw with the WHA and the Trump administration, there's anything that will be done.
It's very, for one, you can't. It seems impossible to boycott Nestle because aren't they one of the mega companies that they have brands all over the place that you don't even know are theirs.
Yeah.
So to be able to boycott them, you'd have to boycott half the products that exist.
Right. And boycotting them in America just means that they're going to push their international sales even harder.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's not to say that you shouldn't try, just because you're a single person and you're not going to make that big of an impact. That's only true if you're the only one. So every little bit is something, sure, but
The only progress I want made is for children not to have diarrhea and shit themselves to death.
the only progress I want made is to be able to eat a bag of chocolate chips without worrying about whether or not I've killed a baby in the process.
I mean, the entire chocolate industry is kind of fucked.
That's true. There's a lot. That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. There's a lot of let's
been
call
a lot
it
of
gray area.
You just gave me
industry.
a great. I'm gonna bring you back for a chocolate episode.
I don't want to hate more things, especially if those things are chocolate again.
Let's see how they fucking destroyed a rainforest to grow more chocolate trees.
I don't want to do that episode. I don't want to hate chocolate. Oh man, we've gone to a dark place.
If you want your child with ADD to really focus, give him a gun. Nothing focuses a kid like the long sights of a rifle as they try and peg a target at 30 yards.
Oh my god.
Or if I'm not a milk nerd.
I
a gun nurse.
no longer know what we're talking about. What are you picturing right now?
I'm picturing a crazy old.
How is that a sales pitch?
I'm just like a guy run like a tonic salesman with a wagon, and he's rolling in from town to town trying to extol the virtues.
That's actually
of health and guns.
That's a very good comparison. Actually, like an old snake oil salesman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing as a milk nurse.
Yeah,
That's the same thing.
there's hucksters that we've always had them.
Man.
I hate how this podcast has within 4 weeks of starting it has really started to go down to, hey, look at these scams.
I mean,
look at this shitty
wasn't that the
stuff.
premise? I thought that was the whole point.
At first, it was supposed to be tongue-in-cheek laughing at people, but now I'm
The
just...
world's a very dark place, Charlie.
Yeah. And that'll do it.
That's a good place to end.
The world's a dark place. Babies are dying, and the apocalypse is coming.
Buy a gun.